We are here in the Mission Driven Mom Mastermind Facebook group. I'm Audrey Rinlisbacher. We are live with Julie Greenman and Trista Neal. They are mentors for our upcoming Mothers of Vision event. And they've been going through the content that will be covered that day. Oh, sorry. They've been going through content that's going to be covered that day, and they're going to share, we're just going to take a few minutes and share kind of our experiences with content, what we've learned, what we're loving. Hang on. Sorry, I've got a still screen and I want to make sure that.
On my end, it says.
There we go. And share kind of, okay, our experiences. Okay, there we go. Contact, it's working normally now. I can see everyone joining. Sorry, that's what was happening. Okay, so the first question I wanted to ask Julie and Trista, when we first made the announcement that this year's theme was going to be Mothers of Vision, what were some of your initial thoughts or expectations? What kinds of things did you think we would be learning or covering with that title?
My first impression was, well, I had two things, I think. The first one was, oh, this has been done a lot. Visions have been done a lot. Yeah. And then the second one was the scripture in the Old Testament that says that without vision, men perish.
Yeah.
And that was the theme of my mission. And so I thought, yeah, it's a really good one. It needs to be talked over and over and over again. So I got excited.
Oh, cool.
I also was just super excited. I'm probably a little more emotional than you. I almost want to jump up and down right now because that's the way I talk usually. But I spent a lot of time with my great grandma when I was very young, and she was a visionary, and she would always tell me that I can do anything that I put my mind to, and I have seen it proven true every time. And if it doesn't seem to be what I need to do, it just kind of drops out of my life. So I was really excited because I've only done visualization for myself and never with a whole group of women, never as a program. And I was super excited to do this together with all of you.
That's awesome. So what are some things, now that you've been through the content of the day, what were some of the surprises? And after you tell me some of the surprises, then we're going to talk about what impacted you most, what your favorite thing was. But what were some of the surprises, things that you didn't know that might be covered? Because I get what you're saying, Trista. It's like really like a law of attraction again. Like, yeah. Are we just, whatever, old and tired? And I do want to say this was a very interesting experience. I'll just interject here. So I was visiting family recently, and I have a sister who left Christianity and became completely atheistic and went down a really troubled road. And I can say this because she's publicly announced it and made a YouTube video about it, and then came back. And when she was asking about the event and the preparation for it and all this kind of thing. And she said, and I said something, I said, you were a cosmic humanist, a new ager, for a while, what are your thoughts about it? And she said, kind of what I expected her to say, but she was like, well, she says, actually, now that I'm, following Christ again and trying to live that life, she said, to me, the new age, the cosmic humanism focuses so much on this law of attraction thing that I shy away from it now. I'm concerned that it was part of a life that I want to leave behind me, even though, of course, it is scriptural and it is something that we're, encouraged to do. But definitely I think that's part of what's important. And in the creation of the content, that was a huge priority for me, was making sure that it was doctrinally, like scripturally, that the content was formulated that way rather than from a, for example, and I have a podcast on this about my problems with that movie and the book, The Secret. And one of them is that you're encouraged to be grateful, but not grateful to anybody. The whole concept of gratitude implies an other. There has to be someone to be grateful to. And that's just a new agey cosmic humanist type of idea that we're just going to be grateful to the air or the sky or to nature or some ethereal whatever that doesn't really exist. So in the same way that, in the same way that we talk about that differently at the Mission Driven Mom, I wanted to talk about visualization differently than it's talked about in the New Age world. And so that's something that I think for some people might kind of be a concern. It's overdone, everybody's done it, or it's kind of like a new agey, touchy-feely kind of thing to do. It's not really what people that believe in God do. We have a different way or a different model. And so that's why there's a lot of emphasis on partnering with God and prayer and things like that. But anyway, so I just wanted to interject that. So what were some things in the content that surprised
you? I think that's what I was looking for, right? That exact thing, making sure that it was with God. And you would say, God's going to tell you the next step, or God's going to keep this and help you keep this in the forefront of your mind. And so that was really helpful because, there's lots of books about manifesting and things like that are really big. In fact, I had one of my mentors sent out this email about dreaming big, and I'm like, oh, not again.
I know.
And it was so frustrating and so bummed, but it sent me on a journey. So between you and him, I went on this big journey to find out, okay, who in the scriptures really do dream big. And I discovered that one of the greatest characteristics of Abraham is that he did dream big. He asked to be the biggest. He asked for the most. He asked for everything. And it really helped me understand, like, this is scriptural. This really is okay. And so I too wrote a blog about it, and it really
did you?
My life. Yeah. It really,
cool.
Yeah. So it's helped me tremendously in that respect. And that was what was new for me, is like, okay, I really need to address this in my life. And it wasn't something that I'd never addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just shied away. Like I was your sister,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I'm like, stay away.
Honestly,
I don't want to talk about that.
I know. I mean, we did all the things, Tony Robbins, all the things. And my biggest concern, I felt like it's clearly a principle because anyone can apply it and see results.
Mm-hmm.
But in my experience, pretty much every time it was presented as a materialistic, get stuff type of, that was its purpose, to get stuff. And so, again, in the content, I talk often about, this is about righteous desires. This is about using these same principles to improve our marriages, to connect with our children, to learn and grow, blah, blah, blah. But, and it's okay if you apply it to material things because you feel inspired that's what you ought to do. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but definitely it's underutilized by a lot of good, God-fearing people for some of these exact reasons.
And I think an easy way to understand this is, this idea that money is amoral, that it can be used for good and it can be used for bad and wrong and right and whatever. And I think visualization is a principle that can be used for good and it can be used for bad. Yeah. And I don't know if I want to use the words good or bad, but it's just amoral.
Oh, it can be used for bad.
Yeah. But it's a tool. It's just a tool.
Yes.
And we can use it for the right thing.
My husband, just today at lunch, we're going to use a book in the mentoring portion. You can sign up, you can add mentoring on. And we're going to actually have part of that whole mentoring process is going through 2 really awesome books. And one of them is The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, which is
I love that book.
essentially saturate your mind with thoughts of God and prayer. And, that's the essence of what he says. But he has another book that's kind of about visualization. And he tells a story in that book about exactly how it can be used. Blaine was just telling me this at lunch, that there was a guy in Hollywood, this was like in the 30s or the 40s, and he was like a really famous like producer. I'm not sure if he was a director, but I think maybe he was a producer. He was very successful. And there was an up and coming actress that was on one of his films. And he became interested in her, even though he was married with children. And he just, had this desire to be with her. He was very attracted to her. And so he nurtured that. And he admitted to Norman Vincent Peale that he actually visualized having an intimate relationship with her, and with such intensity that, of course, it came about into being. And so they were sleeping together, and then she became pregnant. And she thought, oh, he'll leave his family for me. So she went to him and she's like, okay, well, I love you and I'm pregnant with this child. And he said, I'm not leaving, go have an abortion. And she actually killed herself. And it was this huge scandal in Hollywood. So it really is true that visualization can be used. It's I believe that visualization and the law of attraction are all just different words that we use when we talk about our power to exercise faith and be creators, because we're children of the Creator. Mm-hmm. Visualization is a valuable word to use because it's image heavy, and that's what we're doing, is using images. But ultimately, it's just faith. We're just creating.
Well, and like everything has a good and a bad to it, right? Right. Satan's going to use all words. So I think, what you said, like righteous desires. Yeah. But I love one of the terminologies that you used in there. You said that vision leads to desire, or increases your desire. Yeah. And I've always been taught that desire is your first one, right? Is your step one. But when you said that it increases your desire, I was like, oh, well, vision is really the step one then. So we do need to visualize righteous vision.
Yeah.
You asked if we had any surprises. And I want to comment, I don't know if this was a surprise, except for, what's the word I'm looking for? It was actually just a confirmation that, oh my gosh, visualization works. The moment I'm writing down my 2 outcomes and action items and things from my vision, doors are opening up. People are coming into my life to help me with the vision that I have. And I have received some answers, some long lost principles that I'd forgotten about on Sunday night, when a friend from North Carolina called me, and we talked for about an hour and a half, and I haven't talked to her for about 6 years.
Wow.
I know. And so I'm just thinking, these experiences come to us when we're letting our Heavenly Father know we're ready, we can see it, we've got this faith. And then he begins to bless our lives with all sorts of experiences that confirm that he's just waiting for us to want to do these things.
Yeah. So
amazing.
Yeah. That's cool, Julie. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, okay, there's one other.
Yeah.
So I don't know, many of you might know we moved, and I had a lot of stuff I wanted to sell, and I had some things on KSL classifieds, and a guy shows up 2 days ago to purchase and take an item that I was selling on classifieds. And he's just dressed up in some athletic clothes and got a, scruffy beard and a baseball cap. And he just looks kind of, whatever. And he gives me the money, and he says, and out of the blue, he says, what are your 3 winning habits? And I went, no one's ever asked me this. And this guy's asking me this, and I was caught off guard, but immediately this light, this pill, whatever came across me and said, you are prepared to tell him your 3 winning habits. And I knocked him down because I had been focusing on visualization. It was so neat. And he and I then had a little half an hour conversation on, on God, because my first winning habit is daily worship, prayer and scripture study and journaling. And then I told him the next 2 things, which were the 2 things that I'm visualizing, or the 2 outcomes that I'm trying to make to have this happen. So interesting that these things come in your life. These people, these experiences come as soon as you're ready to make it happen through visualization.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
And the outcomes you're talking about, Julie, that's at the first of the day, we do the vision walk, then we talk about visualization, and then we help you identify 2 specific outcomes and get some, well, you do true statements and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
And then that's what you're talking about when you're referring to outcomes, is you know what your vision is, and those are the two outcomes that you're working on, and you can visualize those outcomes as well. So that helps.
Yeah.
So what was the most impactful part of the event content for you so far, Tresta?
So I have to say that it hit me really hard. So my children have been begging me to do 7 Habits for Highly Effective Family as a family.
Oh, cool.
And I have to tell you, I was against it. I'm like, that's too big. It's too hard. It's too much. We already have a mission statement, blah, 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 blah. We already have a shield. We already have a flag. We already have everything. We don't need to do this again.
No one has a shield and a flag, Tresta.
Oh, well, I do.
It's incredible.
So I'm like, we don't really need this. But
I
they
can see why, yeah. If you've got a flag and a shield, you might not be. That's phenomenal.
So they begged and begged me, and I'm like, okay, fine, we'll do it. Yeah. So it's in the very, very first chapter where he says, he's doing the airplane analogy, and you're going to be off the course 90% of the time. You have to have 2 things. You have to have a destination and a journey. And then he describes the destination and he describes the journey. So we get out our Constitution or our mission statement and we read it, and there's no destination in that.
Oh,
interesting.
I have a huge, and it's big, like we have it memorized. It's big. It's a whole Constitution. It's beautiful, but there's no destination in it. Wow. So it hit me like a ton of bricks, like, oh, wow. I mean, the destination that we're going to be with God again. I mean, that's probably that would be the big one, but it's never stated. It's never there. We have the journey planned, man. We are on our run, but where are we going?
Yeah.
So that was my biggest aha, is that I need to really focus on what is our destination? What is my destination? I started looking at, if I don't have one for my family, then do I have one for myself? And I had to admit that I really don't. I mean, I have goals galore, but I do not have a destination.
Wow.
So that was my biggest takeaway.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's neat.
I think, I don't know, some of the content, I love the habit stacking. That's been super helpful. Mm-hmm. Already working on true statements and that kind of thing. A couple of my favorite things are the obstacles assignment, when you write down why you're probably, why you fail, and then the turnaround assignment there where there's the sentences and the blanks to fill in. It makes it so concrete. It's just so, and I just return to that, like, okay, these are the 3 things that are going to potentially get in my way, and why are they not going to get in my way? Because it just makes making a true statement just a slam dunk. It just makes it so much easier to identify exactly what could potentially go wrong, and then knowing exactly how to turn that around.
Yeah.
Because boy, self-doubt, that is a huge one for me. I'm constantly barraged with that, and I have to just be on the guard and fight that like mad. And that really, really helps me. And another huge thing for me was something you already mentioned in terms of why visualize, to increase your desire. Because you have an idea of what you want, and you have to have a little bit of desire, or at least dissatisfaction, to even try to obtain even the smallest vision for yourself. Like, I could have a clean kitchen for a week. That's a worthy vision. Start there. Start as small as you want, but ultimately you're not going to stick with it unless it's constantly there.
Yeah.
And that constant connection emotionally, because we're so driven emotionally, then gets you up and doing, over and over and over again. So that was really helpful. So I don't want to keep everyone too long today. Let's finish up. What is one thing that you would share with someone that's thinking of attending the event? One reason they should come, or one thing you might think that they might get out of it, or one, I don't know, concern people have, or just what comes to mind when you think someone's thinking about coming, what would you say to them?
Julie, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I was just thinking, definitely, and I don't know if I can emphasize this strong enough, but we don't do a lot of things on our own. We do much better when we are in a group, when we are supported, when we are learning things together and we can discuss. Like I can read a book and I can finish it, but if I don't discuss it, I don't get as much out of it. Yeah. And if I have goals and I'm learning them with people and I'm learning concepts and I'm writing them down and I'm with people that I know I'm going to talk to later, it's going to stick better. And I'm really excited. I hope those of you who are listening who have not signed up, I hope you do sign up, because this is life-changing. And it's more so because we're doing it all together. Yeah. We've got the support.
Yeah. And totally I'm excited too, because they'll have access to you women all throughout the day. And those, I mean, the groups, the little breakout groups are going to be less than 20 per group, maybe even 17 or 18. And so lots and lots of access to the mentor and to each other in that small group, working through it together with just, and that kind of ties into what you're saying, Julie. It's just the mentoring and the aid and showing up and going through it with somebody. It's just far more likely to stick and far more likely to follow through.
I totally agree. I think that the camaraderie together could be the best, but I also still love habit stacking. I mean, I've been using it for a while. It's just, and I don't know very many people would know that terminology really, but we'll get to know that in the class and learn how to do it. Like, it's just pretty easy once you just stick it next to another habit that you already do. And that's all you have to do. So,
yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts before we finish up? I don't know if anybody here on Facebook has any questions before we get off, but I just wanted, we're meeting together regularly. We're going through the content. We're talking about it. And all the board members have just been saying, well, this has been helpful and that's been helpful, or I'd love this or that. And I thought, well, let's just get online and tell the moms in case they're interested or have questions. Okay, she says, this is Jen. Is this independent of where we are in the program, or does it depend on certain preparation? Jen, this is the Mothers of Vision online MDM celebration. It's completely independent of the Academy. It's something that you sign up for separately at themissiondrivenmom.com. It's on sale right now for 20% off. I think you can get in for $40, another 20, have the recordings for life. And it doesn't matter where you are in the Academy or any of that kind of stuff. It's a standalone, independent set of 10 principles of vision that we go throughout the day. And you'll be mailed a journal. In fact, I should have brought one in. I've got one in the other room. We're going to mail that next week. And your action card and your list of principles. And these ladies will be your mentors. And a couple others. We're going to do this again next week with Lindsay and Tracy, who are our other mentors for both days, who will be taking you through the content they've been going through it themselves. And that's kind of some of what they were sharing that's been helpful to them. So yeah, anybody can do it. Doesn't matter if you're an Academy student or not. We'll be getting assignments ahead of time to prepare for the event. Yes, Kathy. We will be sending you your journal and your action card and principles list, and then sending you a link to the vision walk with some other instructions. We're going to have you look up 2 or 3 terms in your scripture. We're going to have you read and ponder a chapter, just to kind of get your mind around it. And then you can watch that vision walk. We'll be sending that out next weekend, 2 weeks prior. And you'll have that vision walk to watch as many times as you want, and some instructions there about maybe how to use it. One thing about the vision walk that some people have come back and said is there's a lot of questions. It's really just meant to be a jumping off place. You don't need to answer all the questions. Don't feel like you need to pause it a million times. It's really just an opportunity to open up your mind to the possibility of things that God might want to inspire you with, taking you on this journey and asking lots of question prompts. So yes, you will be getting those in an email, and you'll be getting your other items in the mail. So good questions. All righty. I don't see any other questions popping up. All right, if you have, again, it's 20% off. We've extended that till next Wednesday for a handful of reasons. And so you can still get 20% off, and you can still earn a free book and recordings from last year for free if you bring one friend or 3 friends with you. Just let us know who they are that signed up after we announced that. And bring your friends along with you. There are a handful of groups that have notified us that have rented Airbnbs or kicked their families out of the house, and they're going to do it together as friends. So that's super fun. You can do that. You can share out this discussion. There's a podcast on vision. I've gotten some feedback on that, but that was helpful. Go ahead and pop any other questions that you have about the event in the group. But that's what we're going to be doing. September 12th is all full. We're filling up September 26th right now. And we would love to have you and any other friends or moms that want to have clear vision. My number one objective in having this theme this year is to have moms. I mean, one of the pieces of feedback that I've gotten over and over and over again about the Academy from moms is that it's helped them become more intentional. And that's really what so much of this is about, is gaining a clear vision and then giving you some actual practical tools. And if you buy the recordings, you can review it, do the program over and over and over again. If you sign up for mentoring, we'll help you for 2 months with it. But helping you to be more intentional, have more clarity about where you're headed. And one of the videos that went out in the email yesterday is from the morning content of the event. One of the things I talk about is, unless you identify where you're headed, you'll end up wherever. I kind of call it wherever land. You'll just end up wherever. And it'll be a product of all your good choices, but it'll be also a product of all your bad choices. And it won't necessarily be a pre-chosen path. So if you get the chance to pick, may as well be intentional and choose where you want to go. So that's what we hope to help you accomplish. So anyway, thanks for joining us for a few minutes this afternoon. Thank you so much, Julie and Tresta, for spending a few minutes with us. They're going to be your mentors in a few weeks.
We're excited.
Share this out and we'll join you there. And thanks so much. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Audrey.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.